Om Swastiastu. Hello, my name is Putuninda Angriani. I'm from 5B class English education. I will present about the project. And the material is number 1, speech art. In linguistics and philosophy of language, an utterance is that has an executive function in language and communicative one. According to Ken Bach, almost all speech is really a performance of several acts at once characterized by different aspects of the speaker's intention. It is the act of saying something what you do when you say something like a request or promise, and now it tries to influence the listeners. Arts are generally understood as art such as promise, other greeting and warming. Invitation, congratulation. Speech art is a theory that examines that meaning of language from the relationship between utterance and the action of speaker. Speech art are particle element that include speaker and listener or writer and reader and what is being said. Speaking can be called an activity because it can have a specific purpose and purpose. Language is the primary means of communication, and under certain conditions, he used speech form involving two parties to have real meaning in communications. Speech art are utterances that have physiological characteristics and whose continuity is determined by the speaker's ability to deal with a particular situation. Speech art have their own purpose and goals related to their influence and activities on themselves and others. State that speech art is a theory that studies the meaning of language based on the relationship between speakers, action, and speech. From these descriptions, we can conclude that speech art a language that can be properly understood when responding to the linguistic situation and context. It can be said that language also has meaning when it is performed or realized in communications based on certain conditions and the relationship between activities and speech. And the next material about as used in speech art theory, a theory of language based on G.L. Austin's Howard Do Think. Its main premise is that language is as much or more of a mode of action as a means of conveying information. The unit of linguistic communications is the production or output of sig, word or phrase in language, rather than sig, word or paraphrase, or sig of sig, word or paraphrase, as is commonly believed the performance of the speech act. So the sensation should be regarded as a kind of language itself belongs to the genus of communicative intentions because it is a very complex rule-based and deliberate actions. Linguistic theory is part of behavioral theory. The basic emphasis of speech art theory is not on what means in language, but on what a speaker means by an utterance, as a great state that meaning is a kind of interaction, and the listener's or reader's perspective that the speaker or writer means something by is part of the meaning of X. In contrast to Structuralism assumptions theory that rests in language system, password, and speech art. Speech a theory that states that the study of structure always assumed something about meaning, language use, and extra-linguistic function. It is assumed that in how to do things with words, Austin first make a rationally clear distinctions between constructive and performative speech. According to him, an utterance is constant if is described or report back in such a way that is can be said that the agreement with the fact is either true or false. On the other hand, the act of describe or report or stage is neither true or false. Sentence utterance are usually related to doing action that are not expressed as saying something, including the performative, the attitudes of those who carry out verbal act. Their thought, feeling, or intentions are paramount. Is unfindingful and is a false part when the speaker is already married and does not intend to abide by the term of the construct. And the next material about level of speak up. There can be some confusion about speech arts type and level. We have already discussed the type of speech art such as representative, declarative, indicative, expressive, and binding. Speech art level focus on different level of interaction between speakers and listeners using speech art. Their different levels are usually observed: verbal and verbal behaviors. Speech behavior that are observed as the process of producing grammatical and meaningful utterance that can be recognized by the listeners. And the next material about different types of speech arts. There are many different types of speech art, but the most common are A. Representative record, B. Judgment record, C. Policy law, D. Expressive art, E. Commissions file. Typical file. This file describe event, process, and stage. Usually the speaker promises that the claim, allegations, report, suggestion, prediction, explanation, hypothesis, or conclusion is true. And the next about theme Hindu. Language and language context cannot be separate from each other, but are interwoven and complement each other. Especially in Hinduism, the communicative process use language as a medium to convey message. Communicators, speaker, communicators, speaker, message, and way of speaking are necessary part of communication, and it is required to convey the message smoothly. Understanding from the speaker prefers the speaker from conveying the message. This is what pragmatic tries to interpret. Pragmatic is the study of the relationship between language and its context. Context is the environment in which a language is used, the background context shared by the speaker and the language partner that helps the language partner interpret the meaning of the language. Okay, that's all about my presentation, and I close with Paramasanti. Om Santi 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 Om.